Airborne Unlimited for Monday from AirVenture 2016 at Whitman Regional Airport. Coming up on today's episode of Airborne Unlimited. Textron unveils the Denali, the Martin Mars is at Oshkosh, and multiple avionics updates. EAA's president, Jack Pelton, officially opened AirVenture 2016, and he made it clear that we're in for a very exciting week.
On Saturday of this week, those of you who were here would have seen the Mars Martin make its arrival. It came in with a little bit of low overcast, but you could hear it overhead and then break out over the lake, which is one of our feature events for the week. This year we have 860 exhibitors here, which is a record for AirVenture for the number of exhibitors, and you can see in almost all of the hangars, they're absolutely full with no available spaces. We have the centennial of the Boeing company being celebrated on the plaza, and we plan throughout the week to be able to highlight some of the large Boeing aircraft. We also have Airbus here, and if we talk about some of the other areas we made improvements, our Aviation Gateway Park, which is focused on innovation, UAS, UAV activity, colleges and universities, and our job fair. Airbus is there with their EFAN. Our pre-sale for both attendance and for camping was up over last year. We already today had to shut down aircraft, the fly-in camping, because we were out of parking places. I just toured the south end. I think we got some more room that we can move some airplanes to get people in, but I cannot remember a time where on a Monday opening day that we already had to turn away potential camping. So that's a very exciting start to a good week.
ANN's Jim Campbell talked to Textron Aviation's Michael Thacker at the unveiling of their new single-engine turboprop that they call the Denali.
Michael, so you've chosen to call it Denali. What's the reasoning behind the name?
So the Denali really evokes the thought of ruggedness, of strength, and of performance, and we really think that's what this product will bring to the market.
In a market that's distinguished by some pretty good single-engine turboprops out there now, what are you bringing to the mix that everybody else is not?
So really, we're taking the product to the next level. So it's a larger cabin, it's a more comfortable cabin, it's a more usable cabin, along with improved performance, improved operating costs. So basically taking every piece of performance and taking it to the next level, bringing a product line, a segment that really hasn't seen a lot of innovation in a couple of decades, and bringing it up to the modern day.
The R&D process for this airplane must have been intense. This was obviously something everybody had been asking for and watching for a long time. Can you comment on the processes that you undertook to get to this point?
So really, if you look at Cessna historically and Textron Aviation, now that we've brought Cessna and Beechcraft together, we have a history of rapidly bringing new products to market. So we have a product development machine, a great team that knows how to work internally with suppliers, with the FAA, to bring products to market. So we're exercising that process and working this product through that process.
Jim Campbell talked to One Aviation's Alan Klapmeier about their new Eclipse Canada and filed this report.
Alan, opening day, Oshkosh 2016. Obviously, there's a lot of really interesting little pieces of news, but the big piece of news so far is a new variant on the Eclipse. Tell us about Project Canada.
Well, first, the really big news is that it's less humid today here at Oshkosh, and so everybody ought to get in their airplanes and fly to Oshkosh. It's fantastic. It's wonderful being here again. For us, Canada is the announcement, and Canada is a holding name. It's what we're calling it in between for the next derivative of the airplane, which is bigger wing, much longer range, bigger payload, faster at altitude with bigger engines. We're really excited about it.
What does Canada bring above and beyond? If you can summarize the design changes and what is going to be the result for somebody who's willing to pony up $3.5 million for the latest, greatest, most, fastest.
Yep. $3.5 million or a trade-in program that we've got in place. What does it get you? More flexibility. That's the really big difference. It either carries a much bigger payload, the current range, or a much longer range, 1,400 nautical mile NBAA IFR 100, at max cruise, a really serious change in the flexibility of the airplane. When you're flying the airplane and they bring you down to lower altitude sooner, or you have bigger headwinds, or the temperatures change, it does affect the performance of turbofan airplanes, and a big part of that is the range or the duration. So this just makes a whole bunch of those issues go away by being able to carry the extra fuel. Obviously, what also comes with it is significantly higher climb rates on hot days, And that just improves the efficiency because you get up faster, but it improves the fun factor as well, just because it's neat climbing at gigantic rates of climb. And then lastly, of course, when you've got the extra thrust, it'll go faster on hot days. So up at altitude, you won't see the speed fall off the way you do on lots of turbofan airplanes. So when we talk about max cruise, the number that we'll talk about will be sort of all the way up to altitude number, as opposed to a low 30s number that falls off above that. So we're really excited about the performance improvement.
After the break, PS Engineering thinks it's 1996.
Build and fly with the most exciting line of kit aircraft on the market and get the best performance per dollar with Sonex aircraft. Visit us at AirVenture and see the new Sonex and YXB model designs, the Subsonics personal jet, aero conversions products, and more. Visit our AirVenture booth 622 in the North Aircraft Display area.
With over 15,000 experimental and light sport aircraft already equipped, Dynon is the avionics leader for light aircraft. Through EAA's breakthrough STC for the Dynon EFIS D10A, every GA pilot will soon have access to affordable avionics upgrades to their type certificated aircraft. For more information, go to www.dynon.aero/STC.
Sandia introduces the new SAI 340 Quattro TSO'd airspeed, attitude, altitude, and slip. With integral backup battery, safety never looked so good. See it now at www.sandia.aero.
Are you stall smart? Ever since Orville and Wilbur took to the skies, pilots have been taught that the more airspeed you have, the better off you are. But over the last 100 plus years, we've learned that's not always the case. Take stalls, for example. The common belief is that if you have sufficient airspeed, the aircraft won't stall. The fact is, an airfoil always stalls at the same critical angle of attack in relation to the relative airflow, regardless of airspeed, configuration, or weight. Learn more at aspenavionics.com.
Welcome back to Airborne Unlimited, coming to you from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you've seen something around Oshkosh that's really cool, let us know with the hashtag OSH16Coolest on your social media posts. ANN's Tom Patton talked to PS Engineering's Mark Scheuer about the two new products they brought to AirVenture 2016.
I'll let you pick what you want to talk about first.
Well, I want to talk about how this made me feel, bringing two brand new products to Oshkosh. It brought me back to 1996 when we introduced our PMA 6000. We had so many things going on at one time, we were wondering if we were going to get it done in time. As we did in 1996, we did in 2016. And we have the PMA 450A and the PMA 8000G, which is the top end of our PMA 8000 series. So the PMA 450A, that is the only audio panel in the world that allows the pilot to place the COM audios, COM 1 and COM 2, in any one of 9 unique positions. We call it Intelli audio. The list price is $2,595, and they're in production now. We hope to make first shipments 3rd or 4th week of August.
So now, Mark, we have the PMA 8000G, and this has got some really interesting innovations built into this box that I found to be very exciting. What have we got going here?
Yeah, well, it's called FlightMate, and it's the first audio panel that allows the pilot to create his own oral alerts. So the PMA 8000G allows you, through FlightMate, to program these 4 audio alerts right from the front panel, no computers necessary. And then your avionics shop, of course, would install these inputs to devices such as sound alerts or engine instrument gauges, things that would give you an indication that something's out of the norm.
And so is it in the pilot's own voice, or is it voice that's built into the box?
It could be anybody's voice.
So it could be, "I'm sorry, dear, but your engine is overheating."
That's exactly correct.
And again, this unit is coming out soon. You said you've got this going to be shipping fairly quickly.
Right, it's in production now. We expect to ship the 2nd to 3rd week of August.
ANN's Christopher Odom took the opportunity to get inside the mighty Martin Mars and figure out what makes it fly. Mars crew member Glenn Ply explains why it takes a crew of 4 to launch the world's largest operating flying boat.
An average fire for this thing would be, you get dispatched, we run a 4-man crew, so there's 2 flight engineers, 2 pilots on board. We'll get a dispatch, you get taken out to the plane in a boat, you fire up all 4 engines, which is, being on the water, you can imagine once the first engine is up and running, now that the plane is moving, right? So you have control issues up until you have all 4 engines going. You'll taxi the aircraft down, and the engineer will call up, temps and pressure is normal, all clear for takeoff. And at that point, the pilot will advance the throttles. He'll get about 75% throttle, and then he makes a call to the engineer. Engineer has the max power setting, so on takeoff roll, it'll go up to 2,800 RPM, 54 inches on the manifold pressure. At that stage, you will build up to about 65 to 70 knots. At that point, if you're taking a load of water, is when you drop the probes. They drop down the belly of the aircraft, and the water is forced in at a rate of about 1 ton a second. The max load on this aircraft is 7,200 US gallons, so it's about a 60-ton load. 30-second pickup, you're up and off. You build about 80 knots, and then at that point, the plane will fly. So pilot pulls back on the yoke, you go airborne, call back to the engineer, climb power setting. Engineer will decrease the throttle to 45 inches, and then the RPM down to 2,400 RPM. And you'll climb out to your climb altitude, and at that point, pilot makes a call back to the engineer for cruise power, which is 35 inches manifold pressure, 2,100 RPM. Like procedurally, it's quite intense. 4-man crew, everybody's trained really well. It gets fairly routine until you have a problem, and once you have a problem, that's when you really understand why the aircraft needs 4 people.
On Sunday, the day before the opening of AirVenture 2016, ANN's Tom Patton stopped by the Garmin display to find out what's new. Here's Tom's report.
Bree, some pretty big news coming out here just as Oshkosh was getting underway. Actually, on Sunday, we talked with Jim Alpizer, who's Garmin's Director of Aviation Aftermarket Sales, about the availability for the G5 instrument for certificated aircraft.
So we are really excited to announce G5 for certificated aircraft. Back in April of this year, we actually introduced G5 as a backup gauge for the non-certified aircraft community. Since that announcement, we've had just tremendous interest and excitement from the certified aircraft owner base, and we've been able to work with the FAA, believe it or not, to take this brand new G5 and now have that STC approved to go into a wide range, over 500 aircraft makes and models, huge range of certified aircraft that are out there. So now we can bring this life-saving solid-state technology into aircraft that had older, aging attitude sensors and gyro-driven systems that are failure-prone. And so by removing those older, antiquated systems, we're actually able to bring a whole new range of technology into the cockpit. The attitude replacement is the primary piece of information that we're providing. That's what's included on the STC. But G5 also has support for secondary information of airspeed and altitude information. So that's available in the cockpit, and just a great viewing environment for folks that are maybe not flying behind a piece of glass today, but have an older, aging system in the aircraft that they want to get rid of and get something with some proven, reliant technology into it.
And how much is that piece of technology going to cost?
Good question. Technology like this before would cost many, many thousands of dollars, but for $21.95 is the price that the G5 starts at for certified aircraft.
After the break, Jim Campbell and Jack Pelton talk AirVenture.
There's a difference between charting a steady course and pushing for the ceiling. And for nearly a century, Hartzell Propeller has been defining that difference. It's in our passion for engineering and research and our dedication to testing the limits of performance. We are built on honor. We are Hartzell Propeller.
Trig Avionics. More pilots are realizing the benefits of Trig. We make innovative certified avionics that are easier to install and operate. Backed with the best support and warranty in the business. Contact your approved Trig dealer now. www.trig-avionics.com.
Welcome back to Airborne Unlimited, coming to you from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's day one of EAA's AirVenture 2016, but it's not the first day for our ANN crew. ANN CEO and Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell arrived more than a week early to build a fire in the steam engine that is ANN, and he spent part of that time interviewing EAA President Jack Pelton. Here's the first of a 5-part series that we're sure you'll find interesting. Jim started by asking Jack what he expected for AirVenture this year. Pelton replied by reviewing some of the amazing upcoming events, and then started into an informative conversation with Jim about how EAA is working with the FAA to make aircraft ownership easier.
Jack, here we are again, the Friday before the big week.
where we have a chance to kind of talk about all things AirVenture, Oshkosh, the world at large, and of course what's happening in the Aeroverse. Let's start out with the fun stuff. Tell us about AirVenture 2016, what we can expect, what's the highlights that you're looking forward to?
We're looking forward to a great week. Setting up very nicely. When we look at highlights, 1983 snowbirds were last at AirVenture, so we're bringing the snowbirds back. They're always a crowd favorite because they do such a nice tight routine. So that's going to be kind of the end of the week feature. Beginning of the week and throughout the week, the Martin Mars, which just kind of mysteriously came together as the opportunity to bring that flying boat here. Internally, and I don't know if the public really knows, we're dropping water on the runway. So it's got a 7,000-gallon hopper, and starting on Monday will be the first drop. They'll wash down the runway with a low pass. It's out at Lake Winnebago. There's no way of landing here. It's a massive airplane. It's going to be really interesting. World War I airplanes, we have 6 of them. They'll be flying in the morning and in the evenings with some World War I reenactors. So
excellent.
It'll be a good chance for people to see engines and airplanes that you just don't get up close and personal to. And as far as military flying, great story. At least I found it to be a great story. We had, during a recent conflict in Syria, literally just a couple months ago, during downtime on one of the carriers, the crew of an F-18 called us and said, hey, we'd really like to fly into Oshkosh and come visit you guys. We've been here in this conflict and getting our minds off of what's going on, and we've been thinking about Oshkosh. And they literally were calling us from the ship. And so as soon as they came back off their cruise, it wasn't really a cruise, being at war, arrangements were made, and they will be here on, I believe that's on Thursday, flying in from 2 different squadrons. So that'll be a lot of fun. Kind of a hometown hero feel to it. Wednesday will be night air shows, Wednesday and Saturday, and those are always fascinating. I really admire those guys flying with no horizon, doing not as low a level aerobatics, but still challenging. And the pyro, the fireworks show, all of that activity. A lot of good forums, a lot of good speakers. We have a tribute to Desert Storm, of which some of the initial pilots on the first wave will be here speaking at our Theater in the Woods, along with the commanding general, who happened to be an EA member and a home builder, has an RV, sleeps under the wing of his airplane. And
they're everywhere.
They're everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. You did something intensely cool this year. In working first, and I know there's others already in place and some announcements coming this week, but working with Dynon, you put together a very effective, very cost-effective STC to allow Dynon avionics, normally meant for the sport aviation industry, to be utilized in a series of general aviation certified singles. This was kind of an interesting effort, especially since it didn't have to break any rules. They were already there. It was just a matter of massaging it the right way. Caught Mike in a good mood, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We found some people and this is the tenor that's going on at the working level, the FAA, and I think the administrator himself also realizes they have a need to help support general aviation or it's going to go away. And we got some strong support to say, guys, the way the rules are written, you have a path to be able to take this attitude indicator and get it into a Part 23 certified airplane. This week we're announcing additional model types and also a larger display. The D100 is being added to the commercial parts list. The reason we took it up is we're looking at this aviation problem, and you and I have talked a lot about, how are we going to, I don't want to be so bold to say fix aviation, because what does that mean? But there's a lot of hurdles in the way, whether it be cost, whether it be access, whether it be how we train, what do we do with these legacy fleets that you can't keep flying because you can't get parts? Just chipping away. And we have a real strong push to look at this modern technology that's being used today in the EAB world. Why can we not get that into the certified fleet? So we're working on that, along with we're going to continue to work on maintaining the older airplanes. So if you got an old Cessna 195 and all of a sudden can't get a tail wheel for it because the manufacturer's been gone, how do we help these folks through the regulatory environment to be able to get things they need to keep them flying? Because that's the largest population of airplanes that are out there today, is these legacy airplanes that are on the certification rolls versus the gap you have with a new product, Part 23, that from an affordability standpoint is not going to ever resonate with a recreational pilot that's flying
50 to 100 hours a year. It's just not affordable.
In tomorrow's Airborne, we'll hear Jim say, "Let's talk politics." You'll find out how third-class medical reform became what it is. Well, that's our program for today. We'll see you tomorrow with the highlights from AirVenture 2016 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you tomorrow.